She squared her chin. I'm Leah Lewis Hall, and I'm working and living in Napanee this summer. I do know some people here, not you, though. Glad to meet you. She smiled, although her insides quivered like jelly. And I'm Jonah Dewberry. My sister Martha is over there. He pointed to a row of chairs where several girls sat looking at them. Martha wore jeans, boots, and a blue t-shirt. Her long dark hair hung loosely down her back. With dismay, Leah saw that she was quite pretty. Martha gave a little wave, and Ethan nodded at her. They turned back to Jonah. Now that we all have met, perhaps you will move out of our way, Ethan said. Jonah moved aside, and Ethan stepped around him, taking Leah with him. Ethan, Jonah said, tell me, do English girls schnitzel as well as Amish girls? Ethan's face turned bright red. You must find this out on your own, Jonah, he replied evenly, and if you can find an English girl who will schnitzel with you. Jonah's face reddened. He leaned closer. I have another answer. Now that you are dating English, will you become one of us? I am one of you. You still dress Amish, you still hold yourself apart, separate. You are proud. Leah knew what to call an Amish person proud was to call an Amish person proud was an insult, and she could see by the way Ethan stiffened that the remark had hit home. She held her breath. Ethan turned and looked Jonah directly in the eye. What I do is my business. Who I decide to be with is my choice. I am leaving with Leah now. Will you take Charity home for me? Jonah nodded. If she will come with me. If you ask her, she will go. Once outside, Leah stopped short. She was glad to be out of the barn, but she felt confused. Wait a minute, Ethan. I don't get it. At first I thought you and Jonah would come to blows. I mean, most of the guys I know would have been swinging fists at each other by now. It's clear to me that Jonah didn't like you bringing me here. He thinks you should be with his sister. I do not care what he thinks. Ethan helped Leah into the buggy and untied his horse from the railing. Jonah is Amish, I am Amish. Amish do not fight, no matter what, not even in wars for the country. It is our way. Leah settled onto the hard buggy seat. But you were angry with each other. That is true. So why did you ask him to take Charity home? That doesn't seem like a nice thing to do to her. Jonah cares for my sister. He clicked his tongue, and the horse went forward. He would jump at the chance to be with her. But what does Charity want? Maybe she didn't want to go home with that Nathaniel. Ethan chuckled. Oh, she likes Jonah Dewberry very much. He has taken her home in his buggy many times, but lately he runs with older, wilder boys who may not return to Amish ways. Leah sighed in exasperation. The whole thing sounded like a soap opera to her. Is Jonah her boyfriend? I mean, does she like this guy? He seems very unfriendly. Ethan slipped his arm around Leah's waist and pulled her closer to him on the buggy seat. He is jealous because I am with the prettiest girl. Leah accepted his compliment silently, knowing it wasn't the truth. She had been around enough to know that the Amish kids weren't going to welcome her into their midst, regardless of who had invited her to come along. It might turn out to be a long summer. Lost in thought, Leah listened to the clapping of the horses' hooves on the roadway and watched the late rising moon peek from behind a cloud bank. She recognized the Longacre property as the buggy turned into it and felt a twinge of disappointment. Although the dance had been a flop, she hoped that their evening together might have lasted longer. Ethan didn't drive the buggy to the place where her car was parked. Instead, he took them across a bumpy field toward a wooded area. At the edge of the tree line, he halted the buggy, hopped out, and helped Leah down. Come, he said. I'll show you a place like no other. She followed him through the woods. A soft summer breeze stirred through scented pine needles, making a whispery, papery sound. They came into a clearing where a giant rack rested on a cushion of leaves and needles. He lifted her up and settled her on top of the boulder. This is my favorite place, he said. Here I feel peace. Whenever I am confused or angry, this is where I come. She turned her face heavenward. 1,000 stars twinkled above her. Moonlight bleached the ground snowy white. It is beautiful, Ethan. This is where the Christmas tree came from, isn't it? Yes, he stood gazing down at her, his face lit on one side by the silvery moon. Leah said, It's more like a church than some churches I've been in. I've been going to a church back home, you know. She wasn't sure why she was telling Ethan this, except that she knew his faith was important to him. I figure I owe God something. I mean, since my bout with cancer and all. She reached for Ethan's hand and rested it on the knee where her cancer had been discovered. The warmth from his palm spread through the material of her skirt. I'm glad you were there for me. I'm not sure how I would have made it if I hadn't been for you and Charity. Knowing you has been special to me, Leah. He touched her hair. Her heart skipped a beat. I'm sorry your friends don't approve of me. I do not care what my friends think. What did Jonah mean when he said schnitzel? Is it a bad word? He chuckled. It's a made-up word that some Amish use for kissing. An older Amish girl usually kisses schnitzels, a boy when he turns 16. She felt the stirring of jealousy. Had the kiss she and Ethan shared in the hospital truly been his first? So tell me, do I measure up? Do I snitchel as well as an Amish girl? He cupped her face in his rough, work-worn hands. I don't know. You're the only girl I've ever kissed. Her body began to tingle. It's hard to believe you weren't kissed before. It's the truth. He offered no other explanation. Leah burned with curiosity to know why not, but he said, I want very much to kiss you now. All other thoughts fled her mind. She slid off the rock to stand facing him. I would like for you to kiss me. She raised her arms to encircle his neck. He pulled her body closer, pressing his hands against the small of her back. He lowered his mouth to hers, touching her lips with a velvet softness that left her dizzy and longing for more.